Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Astrological Intentions. I am your host, Alex Reevy, along with the magnificent mama herself, Sandy Reevy. Say hi.
Hi, Alex. Hi, everybody out there. All you magnificent other people.
And this is episode 114, September 28th in 2020. So let's get right into it. In the transits, we have Monday, September 28th, Venus trine Mars.
Good shape.
Tuesday, September 29th, Saturn stations direct.
Making some moves.
Same day, Mars squares Saturn.
Let's watch. Sit down.
Then Thursday, October 1st, full moon in Aries.
A bit of poison.
Friday, October 2nd, Venus ingress Virgo.
Mercury is in charge of her.
Then Sunday, October 4th, Pluto stations direct.
The last of the superglue.
And in Talisman Time, Sandy has finished up 2 special talismans to move about freely in the world and to invite others into the practice. Then upcoming, she has one very special as well as some surprises to heal illness and disease. On the horizon, we have many online events as well as private events and virtual trunk shows happening. So stay tuned. And in our house, we are going to be talking about that Jungian Symbolism in Astrology book, so you won't want to miss it. Stay tuned for this episode of Astrological Intentions.
And the search ends here, where the night is totally clear, and your heart is fierce, and so you finally know you control where you go.
Hello, magnificent mama.
And daughter.
Actually, we are recording on National Daughters Day.
Well, isn't that special?
Yeah, it's one of those kind of like made up holidays, but I'll take it. I'll enjoy it.
I am being a daughter to my mother.
That's true.
And here you are a daughter to your mother, and we were all on the line. I'm at my mom's house still.
Yes.
Doing some things with my mom.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, and she's doing good. So this is all great news.
Thank you, everybody, for your well wishes. She's doing good.
Yes. So I want to first go direct to you all. Thank you so much for your feedback. I still want more. I don't think that these are going to be satiable, desires that I have. You guys just have to keep it coming. So I did, when we shouted out to our last private event, because we shared their story and kind of their experience with us, and we also shared that they were listening to our podcast on the way back home. Then I got more feedback from them. So Sarah says, we all loved hearing the private event shout out on the podcast this week. And mind you, the whole subject of this email was, we're famous. And she says, I listened to it on Monday. And she was just saying how much everyone loved it. And there was one woman who wasn't able to make it, and she clued in on the recording since we recorded it for her. And yeah, everyone's been really happy and taking a little bit of your direction and your guidance, and they're feeling really, really good about it. That's what she said.
And I feel good about it. And we've also have we're filling up our calendar kind of. So we're so thrilled to be able to find the new virtual way or local in-person events to keep this, astrological energy flowing into when we need it the most, right?
Yes. So let's get into the transits, shall we? We have Monday, September 28th, Venus trine Mars.
This happens at 8:01 Central Time PM. Good shape. It's a nice balance. This is the Venus, the feminine, with Mars, the masculine. Even though Mars is in retrograde, it's possibly perfect for one moment in time, right, on this Monday evening. Venus likes leading here with her partner because Mars is retrograde. Because Venus has Venus is in Leo, So it has the sun as this uh, mutual reception because the sun is in Libra.
And Venus rules Libra. Okay.
And so the trine to Mars, with Mars in its own sign of Aries, but yet retrograde, is not real strong here. So it's like Mars is strong and tall, yet he's moving backwards. So Venus kind of takes the lead. It makes me think of a tango or something where the feminine is in charge of the subtle movements that Mars follows. Right. This is also the day of Yom Kippur.
Yes.
Day of atonement for in the Jewish, in the synagogue, the praying and the, atoning for sins, created for the that have occurred the year before or this past year.
And you also called this day good shape. What does that mean?
Well, just because that they're in balance, the Venus and the Mars are in balance. They're in a trine. Mars is like I said, tall and strong here, but Venus has the lead. So it's a nice, usually in this capacity, oftentimes Mars is in charge. The masculine, the aggressive type. But I particularly like this. I have a very strong Venus in my chart. I like it when Venus has more of a say in a conversation or in a dance, let's say, with a masculine version.
Do you think you're a good lead when you dance, or can you follow?
I am the lead. Which is why I like this.
Yes.
I like this aspect.
And so moving on, Tuesday, September 29th, we have 2 transits. The first is Saturn stationing direct.
This happens at 12:11 a.m., making some moves. And, believe in a new order. Believe in that your responsibilities have new freshness. Saturn's been retrograde for the last 5-ish months. So if we felt like there was nothing really marked in our calendar that we're getting, check off, that we're being satisfied or productive. Saturn, the planet of productivity and getting things done, right? Achievement,
discipline. Yep.
Discipline is in its own sign in Capricorn. It has been for the last 2.5-ish years, but it's now making its final movement to finish up all Capricorn type situations, which it felt, all the things that we've been involved in this year is making new rules, making new laws, checking into the Constitution.
Building new roots, and that was our whole theme with the Mexico retreat, as well as recreating foundation. And I mean, right now, what Saturn has needed to do is break up a lot of that, which is that Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto, yo. So.
Yeah, believe in a new order. Believe in it because it is truly possible.
Yes.
But it's again, what we'll see later on this week, that Pluto starts moving direct. So that whole kerfuffle of this combination of super glue or gorilla glue, that we have been in this kind of guerrilla fight. Yet we've been, having to do this guerrilla kind of individualistic on, behind our closed doors and behind masks, and yet finding new ways to work with individuals, but we've had to build our structures of our own inside. And we're going to talk a lot about that as we go through the transit and we get into our house. I think it's cool. I love this podcast that we're doing today. Lots of cool energy and lots of aha moments, I feel. So I hope everyone has at least 1 to 3.
And bonus points if you have more. So the second transit that's happening Tuesday, September 29th is Mars square Saturn.
So let's review this. This is the second pass of transiting Mars is now retrograde. We talked about this the last time a few weeks ago. And it's square, again, conflict, stress to the Saturn that is stationing direct now, right? That day, this day. So Saturn is literally stalled or stopped in the sky when Mars is coming back to hit it again. So really, this is at 4:50 p.m. Let's watch, sit down in that order. Because something or someone in your personal life or on the news is clashing. It's a stress.
Okay.
So watch rejection. Watch something that has already occurred come back up into the news that is I don't know if it's
I feel like we've been
protest.
seeing that a lot,
Yeah.
with Breonna Taylor and just kind of those types of
The fight.
things.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that then they're saying, hey, we're not going away, right? Until there's justice being done. This is
And so with this Mars square Saturn, we're saying let's watch, sit down, which is almost like taking action out of the mix. And I think you're saying this because Mars is in retrograde right now.
and because it's square. So there could be, trying to move forward hits a wall, hits a brick wall, and there's a lot of redoing going on because of the retrograde. So, these are the two malefics, and they're in their own signs. And Saturn in this position becomes the more stable and the unmoving now. So it's in impedable kind of. I get the sense that the train that thought he could, but really can't this time. And that's why I think I said, I get this vision of, pay attention, let's watch, let's pay attention, let's get all the information, but let's not take the action. Let's just sit down and see how we can do this kind of in our own life, in our own thought process, in our own way. Are we up against a brick wall if we're out there pushing and fighting and writing signs and
Well, and I also like
anger.
too, the idea that here, this Mars square Saturn, even if we are taking action, even if we are pushing against this wall, even if we are there and, contributing to the action, that I think that this is a big lesson that even if you fail, it is not worth giving up. Because I think that's another part of this, we can call it let's watch and sit down and kind of not take any action. But I also think that there is such a valuable piece of, pushing against a tough wall sometimes, because it can appear like it's a tough wall. And yes, we can fail. And yes, that wall can tumble on us. And yes, all of these things can happen. But, sometimes too, it is good to just understand that I will try and I will fail, but I will keep trying.
Well, and that's at Mars. Mars is going to come back and hit this square Saturn again. And this will be back in early next year when they are now both in forward movement. And so I think that's when the real action comes.
Right.
So, readjusting with your within, right? The redo, because anything that you're going to be doing right now has to be redone. So it's not like be passive, right? It's not being passive like, oh, let everybody else do it, but it's this is not over yet.
Right.
And so don't use up all of your energy now, because the real energy will come in early next year.
Yeah.
And Mars doesn't stay retrograde for the rest of the year. It stays in Aries for the rest of the year. But the exact square, I mean, it's in square territory, because Aries does, at any degree, Aries squares, that's a cardinal sign, squares all other cardinal signs, which is Capricorn is one. So this Mars Saturn has been in, really been in a sign-based square for the last probably six weeks, and stays there until mid-December. but they
Yeah.
don't match up in an exact form as they do on this day, on Tuesday, the 29th, um, like they do this is second pass. So, you know, you can stay in the fight, but you're not going to try not to use up all your energy. That's why I said, just
Yeah. And don't accept defeat. Like
right,
keep your
stay in it. You're
mind,
not
keep
done.
your mind at least your mind being a part of this battle.
And
And
then we'll follow the rest of the week because this might make sense once we get through, all the rest of these titles of, I mean, we can, because in 2 days time, we go into the full moon,
right. So
which is,
Thursday, October
yeah.
1st, we have the full moon in Aries, a bit of poison.
Yeah, this is at 9 degrees Aries at 4:05 p.m. Central, a bit of poison. And the reason why I called it this is because the moon is conjunct Chiron. And so Chiron is considered the wounded healer. And so, yes, we have to maybe, take the remedy. This could be the remedy, right? And, to take a bit, I just remember once a really good neighbor of mine her kids would get poison ivy terribly. And she'd go get a little bit of a poison ivy poison from her homeopathic doctor to give the kids a little bit of the poison to build up immunities for it. So that's kind of why there's a healing, the moon with the healing here, because the sun, that means the sun's at 9 degrees of Libra, shining on the moon at 9 degrees opposition of Aries. And so I believe in, it kind of reminds me of mistletoe.
Hmm.
And I just recently, again, I'm going to be quoting from the book from Alice O. Howell, the Jungian Symbolism and Astrology.
Yes.
But she talks, and I'll talk a little bit more. We'll talk more about this in our house, but that mistletoe, which is a plant that's considered very harmless. It's a poison. It's like it's a leech. It's a parasite. It's living off on someone else. But in order to have just a bit of this poison is why we kiss under mistletoe, so that we're trying to mend any, you know, trying to live off one another, trying to leech off someone, to try and be a parasite off of someone. You're trying to come together under the mistletoe, which is it's a very much a poison, to kind of like just take a little bit of a right. And it's not just, marriage partners or lovers that are boyfriend, girlfriend. It's, anybody standing under a mistletoe gets a kiss. In fact, you sometimes purposely stand under the mistletoe
Right.
so that you want a little bit of that remedy.
Interesting. And I mean, yeah, that's such an interesting where it could be considered a remedy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because
It's the plant medicine way, right? It's the homeopathic way to, and two, it's a full moon. This is the best time to harvest any plant medicines, is at the full moon. So that's why I really liked this vision of taking a little bit of the remedy, which again, if we're looking at that Tuesday, that Mars square Saturn, right? It's
right.
just to take a little bit of that pill of what you're afraid of. And we're going to talk about Pluto going direct here, about the shadow. It is just a big week.
Hmm. It is. And so
And
do you
maybe
want,
we'll sum it up, in the Our House
I think
conversation.
yes. Well, because we have plenty to talk about when it comes to that, and especially the Pluto. So Friday, October 2nd, we have Venus ingress Virgo. So Venus is now moving in to Virgo from Leo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Mercury is now in charge.
So at 3:48 p.m., Venus, the planet of love, beauty, charm, pleasantries, the feminine, moves into a mutable earth sign where Mercury becomes in charge. But
Because Virgo is ruled by Mercury. Yes.
Mhm. So Venus is looking over to Mercury and saying, "Hey, what do you want me to love? What do you want me to what's my desires? What's my charm?" And Mercury says, "Hey, listen, I'm getting ready to slow down. I'm in shadow already. I'm about to retrograde here. So, take your time. Let's go slow. Let's be more methodical. Let's be more analytic.
Mhm.
Let's make proper um, have a plan. Let's put a plan together. Now, which makes sense to the station of Saturn moving forward, the Mars square Saturn, the full moon, now the Venusian planet that Trine brings grace and love to everybody is like, let's put together an organized plan. Again, let's not be so active. Let's do we need to change up anything here?
Be a little bit more strategic.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a mutable sign, and Mercury's like, "Hey, really can't help you so much here. I'm getting ready to redo some things. I have to rethink, right?
Right.
Because it'll be retrograde the entire time that Venus is in the sign of Virgo. So,
So a lot of rethinking.
yeah, which adds to this theme of the week.
Yes.
And
And so,
if we get to Sunday, we got a lot to say.
yes, Sunday, October 4th, Pluto is now stationing direct.
8:32 in the morning, last of the super glue. And we've got a new glue contender here is the Gorilla Glue, which
Yes.
to me means more
The like
of
guerrilla warfare.
so man, Pluto, the slowest dude in the sky, has been retrograde for 6 months. And he does that every year. It's every year. So this is since the end of April. Now we know a lot has happened since the end of April.
Yes.
And what shadow, because we all have them,
Mm-hmm.
what shadow did you face to find your buried treasure? There's wealth here, right?
There's so much wealth, and it's right within us. It's like it's deep within us. And I think that's really cool because also when we will talk in our house about this Jungian symbolism book, Pluto is that which is within us. It's like a deep treasure, but like it's like the carbon and the muck and the material that gets pressed into the diamond.
Mm-hmm. Can I read right now before we get to our house something that Alice O'Howe wrote in our favorite book right now that we've been referring to a lot
Yeah.
this month? I hope we can follow up into our October to talk more about this book. It's just talk about a gem hidden from,
Right.
she wrote this in 70 or 80. You'll look that up in your book because I found 2 copies in 2 different places. Hard to find book. And if you miss
1987.
Yeah,
First edition.
Jungian Symbolism in Astrology by Alice O'Howe. She writes this: it is possible that Pluto rules the personal unconsciousness of the collective, and that we have to deal with and integrate the culminative crimes of hate, fear, anger, greed, and the abuse of power, of nature, and of sexuality, penetrated throughout history. These are our collective complexes, and like an international debt, each of us carries a share. Pluto's process is severe. It teaches that there is a difference between nature's laws and the ego's moral laws. Cosmic law is absolute, and nature stronger than we are. But we forget. As Jung has pointed out, our greatest enemy is ourselves. The retribution is implacable. We must learn or suffer the consequences.
Mm.
So we must learn or suffer the consequences. The shadow, seeing the shadow. So what shadow have you seen in the last 6 months in your personal life? We've seen a lot of shadows either integrate or combat.
Right. And I think a huge part of that too is, it's forced upon us a little bit from the quarantine, because when we have nothing when we strip away our identity that is outside of our walls, when we take all of that away, and group events and work, going into the office, and we're stripped down to this little bit of nakedness, it shows a lot of who we are inside, because we're put up against ourselves more often than put up against that networking event and put up against that project I'm working on. Now we're put up against ourselves.
Right. It's like nature's laws versus the ego laws.
And they're
right?
constantly, happening parallel. And it is just a flip of a coin and a flip of a perspective of, how we are operating, which is just so interesting. And with Pluto stationing direct here, this is about, we have had all of this time to really settle in and to dig deep.
Mhm.
And now it's about, okay, now what were the lessons, and how are we then going to use those as a part of our character, to use those as a part of, and be honored to say that this is, also a part of my humanity.
And, ego has a lot to do with your popularity, your fame, the amount of money, your promotions, your, work title.
And that could have even been stripped away.
And as that gets
Mhm.
stripped away and you are considered if we all are citizens of the United States, for those that are listening, we all got all one set amount of money from the government. We are all equal, right? Regardless of, you make this much money and I make that, we all got the same amount. We weren't looked at as, oh, you're more important than this other little person.
Mhm.
So that was kind of just a really, you know, unconscious way where, the government was saying we're equal. But certainly whatever we felt we were stripped of, relationships, travel, positions, losing a job, being on furlough.
Even being a part of as a part of a family, if we weren't living in that same house, those relationships started dissolving a little bit.
Mhm.
So interesting.
This has just been
And let's stop here so that we
Okay.
have more to talk about in our house. So everyone stay tuned to the end of the episode, because we're going to talk a lot about this, Pluto stationing direct, as well as that mistletoe. So let's move on to talisman times. You have finished up 2 talismans. The first was Tuesday, September 22nd, to move about freely in the world.
I really like that one because this is when the Jupiter was starting to break up from the gorilla glue and it's starting to separate. It's the first one coming away. Like, Jupiter is the big planet of, um, universal growth. It wants international reach.
Yeah. And
So
the affirmation is, my vision is clear and my needs are met. I explore new horizons where all this occurs. I am loving my life.
loving my life.
I love it. And that actually reminds me, do you remember, I think it was like Saturday Night Live or Mad TV or something, where the girl would always be interviewed and she'd be on the couch and she'd like rise up and she'd go, I love it, I love it, I love it. And she'd kick her leg up. Oh, I loved that. I thought that was so
Do you
funny.
love it, love it, love it?
I love it, I love it, I love it. So anyway.
Yeah, because it feels like, whatever personal work that you've been doing this last 6 months, well, Jupiter was more like, almost 5. It didn't stay retrograde as long as Pluto, but it's like, starting to stretch and you can like, move your arms a little bit and, stretch your back and
Mm-hmm.
kind of move around a little bit because your mental ability is wanting to reach out because you're a new person. Are you not a new person?
Yes.
Who is not a new person? Raise your hand.
Right.
Okay.
And then the next talisman that you made was Thursday, September 24th, to invite others into the practice.
I'm using that moon conjunct Jupiter that is moved direct at this point. Now Jupiter's still slow because, you know, he has to get like it stopped. He stopped. He has to start moving forward. But I seriously consider the effects my friends, my associates, and my coworkers bring to my table. I choose those that are willing to take this vision all the way to manifestation. We are equals.
Mm.
In other words, we're all gathering. I'm choosing who I choose to come, you come to my table. We have this conversation. I seriously consider what the effects of everyone has that are willing to move this vision to manifestation. But we're
Mhm.
equals. It reminds me of, you know, um, RBG, right? And if you've watched that movie, um, you know, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, that when she was appointed to the Supreme Court, that, you know, the current president was looking at around going, you know, we have all white males in the Supreme Court. That does not reflect the who these
Population.
people are for, right? Who they're
Yeah.
making decisions for. And so he appointed a female and a Afro-American, a Black man, to the court. So this kind of reminds me of inviting others into the practice. What practice? Is it a business practice? Is it your daily practice? Are you looking for coaches? Are you looking for mentors? Are you looking for co conspirators, right? If you're looking for
Co-creators.
co-creators, cooperators, you're equals moving forward, but you're making the choice of who is good to go.
Mm.
I really, really like this one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's nice. And then your upcoming talisman, you have Tuesday, September 29th, to heal illness and disease.
This
How
doesn't
wonderful.
come on around very often. This is the sun in Libra, of course, and the moon is moving into Pisces. Moon likes being in Pisces. It is in the 27th lunar mansion. The moon is rising over the horizon at this moment. This is about 6:30-ish p.m. And it is in a sextile to the Jupiter, which is the ruler of the moon, right? What rules
Mhm.
Pisces? Jupiter. And Jupiter, again, remember, is making that direct movement. So this lunar mansion is about healing disease and healing and illness. And the
I also
ruler
just
of it,
want to mention too is that Jupiter is the ancient ruler. Neptune is the modern ruler.
Mhm.
Okay, go on.
But Neptune's also rising over the horizon at this time. In
Okay.
fact, the moon is in a conjunction with Neptune. So both of the rulers of Pisces are in a nice aspect. But more so, the moon is in that lunar mansion between 4 degrees of Pisces and 17 degrees of Pisces. And um, it has this feeling of Jupiter coming out of this stationary retrograde placement where it's likened to Jupiter starting to move to get out of its bed, its illness bed, its bed that it has been kind of appointed to for about 4 months. It's time to get out of bed. You're starting to rise up. And that's what I want to talk about. The affirmation is, I drink the healing natures provided to me as I regain my vitality and strength. All living things near me rise up too. And so this reminds me of, you know, the Hamilton song,
Rise up.
rise up, you know, tell your brothers and your sisters to rise up. You know,
Yeah.
it was this feeling of stand up. Now, I get goosebumps right now as I say that, because didn't we just talk about let's watch, sit down,
Hmm.
right? So I don't mean let's watch, turn the TV on,
And zone out.
and or even watch the news just to go. In fact, I say, you know, I still am turn the news off, although I am in with my mom who loves the news. In Aquarius, very progressive, needs to know information. So I have been catching a little bit of it just in little dribs and drabs. I can't be too absorbent of it. But, you know, feeling this rise up, and remember the power is coming,
And a
is
vitality.
and strength, because the Jupiter and Mars are in an aspect of square, and Jupiter has more. I mean, it's not degree based, but it certainly is again that sign based. And now Jupiter is moving forward, and Mars is retrograde. So
Mhm.
I just really like this. Hey, rise up. But now we have a different abundance, right? We're going to talk about the shadow. You faced your shadow. How
Mhm.
do you rise up differently now? Because
Yes.
your title might be gone, your paycheck might be gone. What are you doing in your resources?
Yeah.
You're,
And
you're sort of
also,
doing it different.
right.
I am.
And to take on the power that you innately have, not because of your title, not because of your wealth, not because of, who you know. You're taking on that power because you know it is already within you. So, love that. Love, love, love that. So, moving on to the horizon, I wanted to first start out. Can I get your blessing of a $5 discount on?
Yes, blessing.
Okay. So, I'm going to throw this in here. The Mars retrograde in Aries webinar, if you use the coupon code podcast, you will get $5 off. I am doing this because this, full moon in Aries, this Mars action, what is like this like kind of bit of poison that we're talking about is important for us all to know. So if you have not already downloaded the CWS webinar, I'm giving you a $5 discount. Click the link and use the coupon code podcast for that discount. So, and of course, that link is in the on the horizon section. And if you're listening on Apple iTunes, just so you know, head over to our website. You'll find the webinar there, and you can go ahead and input that coupon code. Because what I've noticed is that the Apple descriptions don't have links. So just as a quick note, and of course you want to get on our email list because that's when I'm going to be sending out a lot of these updates to you. So October 3rd, we have our October astrology forecast that's happening on Facebook Live. It's an online free event, and it's where Sandy and Susan come together and give you all of the free astrology news. And this is mundane astrology. So it's similar to what we're talking about in the CWS webinars. However, the CWS webinars get real in depth. What we're going to be doing is just kind of a scraping of a light toast of this astrology forecast so that you can put it in your calendars, put it in your phones, and have all of those dates ahead. So then October 14th is another CWS webinar. This is the Blue Moon webinar happening. So you are going to want to join us because this is going to be a lot of moon energy. We're going to be talking about those moon phases, as well as what is a blue moon, what does the symbolism hold, and kind of how this one is going to be a little bit different since it's landing on Halloween. Then October 15th and 16th, we have a to be announced Baeth Davis Team on Purpose event. If you are curious about those details, you can email me info@intentionbeats.com, because if you're one of the first to mention the free ticket, I will get you in line for this to be announced event. Then we also wanted to quick discuss our coming up private events and virtual trunk shows. So these private astrology events are really wonderful. Like you heard Sarah in the Going Direct earlier, they are having a blast and loving the information that Sandy provided to the whole group. But the coolest thing is that everyone that's there, that's current and in the friends group that you invite, you're going to keep each other accountable. You're going to be there for one another. You're going to be able to connect and share. And that's something that is much different from a one-to-one astrology reading with Sandy. So if you are interested, we can do this all over Zoom. Nobody has to come together. And these are private events that are personalized. We get everyone's birth date ahead of time, and we come together as a group and have an amazing explorative time. Also, I'm going to mention here too that we are starting up some of our virtual trunk shows since we're getting closer to the holiday season. So if you're interested in hosting a virtual trunk show, I am offering the hostess or the host free product for when you host these events and your friends purchase, I'm going to give you a percentage of these sales in a store credit from us. So let me know, info@intentionbeats.com, aka alex@intentionbeats.com. They're pretty much the same. And I'll give you more information on that if you're curious. So that's a wrap on the horizon today. So of course, if you have questions, email me. So moving on into our house. So let's talk more about this Pluto, full moon, poisonous superglue energy.
I mean, I want to add to that by reading another little segment of my favorite book right now.
Yes.
You down? You down?
Yeah, we'll call it JSA. How about? Because it's Jungian Symbolism in Astrology. The JSA book. Does that sound good? Okay.
So and I love her symbolism and it's very easy to understand. And I really want to talk about Pluto here. I'm like reading the last chapter of this book where she talks about Pluto.
We're jumping around.
But she writes, this kind of transformation by Pluto is very alchemical because it shows that the gold of the self can participate only after
Precipitate.
Let me start over again.
Okay.
Do we want to just scratch that?
Go ahead.
I make mistakes.
We make mistakes.
My
Let's do it.
Mercury is in Pisces. This kind of transformation by Pluto is very alchemical because it shows that the gold of the self can precipitate only after it has made the descent into the nigredo, the dark mixture of ash, muck, and feces, which is the garbage of centuries. It is our collective prima materia in which the wealth is hidden. It said Jung has suggested that it will come through each of us working on our own shadow. And in doing so, we bless the world with a bit more released light of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And then I popped down to this paragraph where she writes about, for some, this could involve the circulation of light, the yoga process by which energy is spiraled through the glands, descending from the highest to the lowest in the body, making them one. Because Pluto does rule the gonads, which are the reproductive areas of the body, of each body. So, to work on one's shortcomings,
right,
honestly and with humility and perseverance is the work. Right?
It is, yeah.
One last part. This means integrating our dark side, making a pet of the wolf at the door, and letting our black sheep graze with the white ones. The witch gets to come to the birthday party along with the good fairies. And we stop denying those parts of us that otherwise continually betray us. Our job is not to deny them, but just keep them in sight. That message is clear. We have to go down before we go up. So certainly,
and I think that is a cycle. Yes, absolutely. And when we read this together, we didn't write it. When we read this together, it reminded me immediately of my favorite Hozier song. and it is called an Arsonists Lullaby. And what I really love about it too is that basically, because I want to read you this lyric, let me just jump over there real quick.
Can you sing it for us?
No.
Oh, you're such a good singer. Okay.
Okay. No, I won't. So let's see, arsonist. Sorry, excuse me. So and I'm going to just read the lyrics because I think this is so cool. Up until the first verse. So when I was a child, I heard voices. Some would sing and some would scream. You soon find you have a few choices. I learned the voices died with me, that we can't deny these voices, that they're there and they're either, light or dark and a mixture. When I was a child, I'd sit for hours staring into open flame. Something in it had a power, could barely tear my eyes away, which is candle meditations, which we've done at our retreats.
And she suggests that.
Oh, really? In this chapter?
Yes,
Oh my
yes.
gosh, I missed that part. So, and this is his, I kind of have a feeling he read this book, but in the refrain, it says, all you have is your fire and the place you need to reach. Don't ever tame your demons, but always keep them on a leash.
Bam.
So that's so similar because you don't want to deny them, you don't want to shun them away because they're tethered, they're a part of you, and you maintain them on the leash. They don't have to be your best friend, and they don't have to be going out drinking with you every day, but maintaining an awareness of them is healthy and is good because then we can make those aware decisions. Go ahead.
Well, no, now it makes me want to read this part.
Oh, okay.
Our most distinguishing and precious gift as human beings is consciousness. And yet more and more of us are throwing it away with drugs and alcohol. The puzzle is, why? Is it a need to escape the crushing banality, as Jung mentioned, of a meaningless life? She writes, when an individual is neurotic, usually the personal unconsciousness sends up a warning in the form of nightmares. So what you were just saying about this hit Hozier's song, right, is that it would come to him maybe in dreams or in this nightmare, or, is anybody having nightmares?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And don't be afraid of the nightmares. They're trying to have you pay attention to the shadow work.
It's important to pay attention to. And that's where where all the teachings are telling us to find the treasure, to find that gold, because when we can be aware of these parts of ourselves, they are also very powerful because they're innately within us. So I also think that this is the power that we can really, bring up. This is the flame that we have. This is all we have, is this fire. So if we can learn to stoke that, learn to maintain it in a safe way where it's not a blazing wildfire, but it's a sustained flame. So I love that imagery.
Another part, it is like the water table which feeds each of our individual wells. Our psychics are fed by a common wellspring.
And we all have it.
And we all drink from the same water. But what
Mhm.
does it do with an individual piece? So just really, just amazing, that, and maybe we'll end here. And at long last, under the bitter dredges of pain in the chalice, we will find precipitated the reborn self, that great Trine, pearl of love, wisdom, and the true power. So just
Cheers with the chalice.
so tip the chalice, and I go back to that talisman that I have that I'm doing this week. That 27th lunar mansion is the vision. It's the description, the image of a man holding up a chalice, a bowl that has perforated holes in it, but he's holding it up to his lips and he's gaining and sipping of what can easily flow out. There's holes in it, but he's getting just the little bit that he needs, which again has to do with let's watch, sit down, take a little bit of the poison. There's a placement of Mercury preparing to rethink some things, and Pluto is coming out of its shadow and seeing the new wealth that you have just get to show to the world.
Uncovered. Yes. Well, I think that's a really awesome place to end. So thank you all for listening. We love you all. Please give us those 5-star reviews on iTunes. Share with your friends. This is one of our, we're really excited about this podcast. So if you want to share with them this one, it's going to be an amazing week. Really dig deep, maintain that flame, and we will see you next Monday. Have a great week, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
And the search ends here, where the night is totally clear, and your heart is free.